All right, so today we're wrapping up circles by looking at equations of circles. This first page is just showing you how the formula is expressed and then what each piece of that formula represents. So um, everything that we're going to kind of talk about revolves around where the center of the circle is and how far out that circle goes, and that's your radius, right? So from the center out to any point on the circle is your radius of that circle. The standard form of the equation of a circle, okay, so when you hear this called standard form, and I understand that it's going to start to get confusing because we've had standard form of like 3 different types of equations, and you're just continuing to hear it called standard form. But as long as you know what shape or equation we're talking about, hopefully that should help. So the standard form of a circle, okay, is this equation right here. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That hk representing your center and the radius being represented by r. So the only two variables, there's 5 different variables here. The only two that are going to stay variables are x and y. So then you're going to have a value in there for the h, for the k, and for the r. Okay? And this picture just kind of shows and represents where these points are. That HK is the ordered pair of the center of your circle. And that's going to be something that we talk about on almost every problem today. Now, the first problem that they're having you look at, they are going to have you graph it. I don't think all the graphing problems have just x squared and y squared. I don't love that this was a problem that popped up for me to screen grab, but that's what we've got. So if you just have x squared, you're essentially looking at x minus 0 squared. And then y minus 0 squared. Do we understand how that's kind of the case here? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. So understand that the ordered pair then for the center is that 0, 0. Okay, so the ordered pair for the center of that circle is at 0, 0, because those are technically the numbers being subtracted from x and y. You're not always going to see an equation like that. You'll probably have like x minus 2 squared. Then that 2 is your h value, and so on. Okay, so the center is at 0, 0. Now, just to show you how to do this on Alex, you're going to put that point there, the center, with the same button you guys always plot points with one, okay, with that pencil. The radius has to do with that 16. Now, remember, your whole equation is equal to r squared. So your radius is not 16. Your radius is what? Nope. 16 is r squared. So what is just r? 4. Yeah, okay. We're all on that same page. So if 16 equals r squared, then 4 equals your radius. Okay? So then, in order to graph the rest of the shape, there's all these different types of graphs on here. You're going to pick the circle, obviously. That's an oval. It kind of looks very similar, but it is bowed a little bit. Excuse me. In order to, you're not going to put another point 4 spots over. You're going to go right to the circle, and then it has you count out to where the next point is, and it will be to 4. Man, I was going okay to that third quadrant. We lumped it. All right. So the first 2 questions are just graphing. That's all you're doing. As long as you can figure out what the radius, what the center is and the radius is from the equation they give you, you're set. Now, these next couple questions have to do with coming up with an equation. This assignment has almost no work involved. The next couple problems have a little bit of work, but that's it. The first like 6 have almost nothing, because this is questions 3 and 4. This is questions 5 and 6. So right now they're wanting you to give the equation. Okay, so remember, your equation is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So that is your equation for the standard form of your equation for a circle. So given the equation, we just need to take the information that they're handing us and plug it into that. That's it. Well, what do we know? Where's the center of the origin, or where's the center of the circle? Nope. Read the whole question. Circle is centered at, so what's the order pair for the origin? Very good. Yeah, 0, 0. So your center, I'm just going to mark that with a C. Your center is 0, 0. And then they're saying that this circle, part of the outer ring of the circle, passes through this point 0, negative 3. So then what do we know about the radius? It's 3, because if I've got a graph here, and I know the center of my circle is at 0, 0, and then I don't know exactly where the rest of the circle is, but I do know that a point from that circle is at 0, negative 3. I know that I'm going 1, 2, 3 to the left to get to that point. So in one direction, that's where my radius is going, yes. Oh, yeah, my bad. Same thing, though. You are correct. It is going down. But yeah, it is 3 steps away from the center, so that radius is 3. Okay? So we've got everything we need. So that first 0, that x value is your h. Okay? So you're going to plug that in where the h is. The next one is your k. You're going to plug that in where the k is at. And then we've got to plug the 3 in for r and square it. Now, I don't think Alex cares how you write this equation, because since we're doing x minus 0, do we really have to put x minus 0? We could just put x. For the sake of seeing this as the full equation finally, I'm going to put it as x minus 0. Alex isn't going to care whether you do that or not. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared is all equal to what? 9. You do square that value and put it there at the end. So that is the equation of that circle. Now, got a little bit different information. What's the center of our circle? 3, negative 8. So we know that our center is 3, negative 8. And then what is the radius if the diameter is 6? Good. So you're going to have a couple problems where they give you the diameter. So your radius is 3. So again, we're ready to plug this stuff right in. Now, when you have a negative number, that's where we see some mistakes. Gets a little trickier, but just because we crisscross those signs a little bit. Because remember, the standard form has you doing x minus your h, so when you subtract a negative, it's going to turn to what? A positive. Good. So my equation, x minus what? X minus 3, your h is 3, your origin of the circle, sorry, the center of the circle is always hk. So x minus 3 squared plus, what's the next one going to say? Y plus 8, very good, because it's minus a negative. We don't put minus negative 8. Y plus 8 squared. And then what am I going to be equal to? 9. Good. You have to remember to square the radius. So if I'm looking at easy little mistakes that we often make here, it's getting the sign wrong in the parentheses, and it's forgetting to square the radius. You see a lot of people put 3 there. We forget to square. Okay? So now, last couple problems. This one does take a little bit of work. Well, here's why. In this last one, we could determine what the radius was because it was going straight down from our center. Right? If you're going straight up, down, left, or right, you can count the radius. But in this problem, find an equation of the circle that has a center of 1, negative 6, and passes through negative 5, 3. Can we count that distance if we had a graph? Is that directly up, right, left, or down? No, if I'm looking at a graph, 1, negative 6 is going to be somewhere like here. And then negative 5, 3 is going to be somewhere like here. Just kind of guessing. You can't count that diagonally across a coordinate plane, right? So what do we have to do in order to find that distance? Yeah, I think you're basically starting to talk through finding it for the Pythagorean theorem. The distance formula is the Pythagorean theorem, but already solved for the distance. So you're kind of saying the same thing. We're going to go right to that distance formula, which essentially is the Pythagorean theorem. So if you don't remember the distance formula, I'm going to put it down here. You need to write that down for yourself. The distance formula is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Now, it doesn't matter what you call x2 and x1 or y2 and y1, but they have to make sure that they're going in the same order. So, for example, when I go x2 minus x1, if I'm going to do negative 5 minus 1, then I have to do 3 minus negative 6. You have to, your x2 and y2 have to be from the same ordered pair. Doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter which way you subtract them, but they have to be coming from that same ordered pair. So my distance formula now, I'm going to have d equals the square root of, so if I'm going to do this that way, I'm going to have negative 5 minus 1 squared plus, and then what do I have to do for the next one? Yeah, 3 minus negative 6. I have to go that way. Which turns into what? 3 plus 6. Okay, so then I simplify those. Negative 5 minus 1 is what? Negative 5 minus 1? Negative 6. I'm going to end up squaring negative 6. And 3 plus 6. That's going to be 9. So that one's going to be 81. Okay? So you end up with, can't see how much time I have left here. You end up with the square root of 36 plus 81. What's that going to be? 17? 117. Can we take the square root of that nicely? No, then don't do it. Because here's what's going to end up happening for us. This is going to come out really nice. So when we can't take the square root of it, that's okay, because let's go into our equation now. Remember, you've got y minus h, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So if I go ahead and plug those in, the h is my value from the x value from the center, so x minus 1 squared. These are just plugging in. I plug in a negative 6 to k. What's the next parentheses going to say? Y plus 6 squared. And then it's all equal to my r squared. Well, my radius we just found to be the square root of 117. So if I put the square root of 117 squared, what's going to happen to the square root symbol? They're going to cancel, so it's just 117. So that's going to happen, and you will have x minus 1 squared plus y plus 6 squared equals 117. You do all the work to find the radius. There's really no work in finding the center in anything we're doing today. You do all that work, and it's just the distance formula, which you're essentially doing most of on a calculator. No. So you have that for your equation. That square root of that ugly number is going to end up just being